Anousheh Ansari. She is, as you know, in 2006 took a trip into space. It fulfilled her childhood dream. We're glad to have all of you children here today to think about your dreams and how you can realize those. She is not only was the first female private space explorer, the first Iranian explorer of Iranian descent, and she also is an entrepreneur and very successful businesswoman in technology. She has co-founded a business called Prodia Systems, and it is an Internet of Things technology company. So she's using smart technology to make our lives better and help connect all of those smart devices that you're now getting. She is a Plano resident, an innovator, and a lovely person. And we're so glad to have her.
I truly appreciate all of you coming here today, this afternoon, to be with me and to hear my story. I will go through a little bit of a presentation and a video, but then at the end, I'd love to hear your questions and have a dialogue with you. The picture you saw was my patch that I wore on my suit when I went to space, and it represented a lot of different aspects of my life. But most importantly, on top is that imagine, be the change, and inspire, which is the 3 chapters of my life. I was born a long, long time ago in a country called far away. It's a country you hear these days with a lot of negative connotation, but when I grew up in Iran, it was a beautiful country, still is a beautiful country, and it had really nice, clear night skies, and I fell in love with those night skies. I fell in love with the stars when I would sleep at night and look at those shiny objects. I would imagine, going up there and touching them. I would think about what's out there, and if there is another living being, another girl out there on one of those shiny objects looking back on our planet and thinking about what's happening here. Any one of you kids go stargazing at night? Anyone with a telescope? Okay, I will challenge you when you go out tonight, and I think it will be clear night, hopefully. You should always look up there and look at those stars and the moon and think about what's out there. There's so many mysteries out there waiting to be solved, and you're the ones who will solve them. So one of my favorite books when I grew up was the book Little Prince. Anyone here has read Little Prince? Good. So one of the things so it's a story of an alien, a prince from another planet, who came here, visited us on Earth. And we happened to meet a pilot who was stranded in the desert, and they started talking, and he started telling about his story. And there was one part of the story when the pilot talked about when he was a kid. He drew a picture of the boy who ate an elephant, and he drew it, but it looked like a hat, and the adults could not see it, could not understand it. That's how I felt growing up. So when I was your age, whatever I talked about, it seemed strange to the adults. And I keep thinking that there's something wrong with the adults because they don't understand me. So I'm sure sometimes you think about things and you're like, why don't they understand me? And still to this day, I'm an adult and I feel like sometimes people don't understand me. So you get used to it, but don't give up on that. It's what will make you unique. So when I was young, I wanted to go to space, so I drew a picture of how I'm going to go to space. So I drew my rocket ship, and I drew where I wanted to go, and I wanted to go visit all the different planets in our solar system and go beyond. And of course, I went around and showed it to everyone, and they looked at me and they smiled at me, and sometimes they said, yeah, that's a nice dream, and sometimes they would tell me that, this is too difficult. Some kids told me I can't do it, it's impossible, what am I thinking? So I got all sorts of, different types of reactions to it, but mostly people telling me this is a dream and you can't do it. So I'm one of those people also, I love to show people that when I set my mind to something, I'll do everything possible to get it done. So what happened is didn't plan it that way, but it happened that I went to space. So I showed everyone I can do it. Not only that, but I did it exactly the way I do it, so you can see how this rocket resembles what I do when I was young. These are my parents. I was born in a middle-class family, just a normal childhood in Iran, grew up. And when I was about 12 years old, there was a revolution in Iran. And everything around me started changing. There were angry people all around. They were shouting, screaming, gunshots, and I didn't know what was happening. And before I could even get used to that, there was a war that broke out in my country. And I started feeling really scared. Everything around me was changing, and I couldn't deal with it. And the only place I could go and find peace was I would go out at night and I would look at those night skies. And I would imagine going up there. I would go to a different world, different place, and I would imagine a peaceful and nice and quiet where everyone would get along and live together, perfectly fine. So imagination is what allowed me to, deal with everything that was going around me. And I would imagine things and imagine that one day I would make it happen. So imagination is a very unique gift we have as human beings. It's like, we get an idea because we see something someplace or we watch something on TV. I was a Trekkie, I watched Star Trek on TV. Now there's a new series. And then soon enough you start imagining yourself in those positions, and then you never can make it happen. I'm sure you guys dressed up at things you want to be Halloween a few nights ago, right? So growing up as a Trekkie, I wanted to, I thought I'd grow up and I'd go to Starfleet Academy. So if you watch Star Trek, it's like a school for astronauts, and you can go there and you study, and then you become a science officer or some other types of astronaut to do different missions, and you would go fly all over the universe. So when I came to US, I thought, okay, where is the Starfleet Academy? And I looked for it, and there was no Starfleet Academy here. They lied to me, this movie. So I ended up going to engineering school. I became an engineer, which was great, and I studied telecommunication, computer science, and ended up working for a company in telecommunication, and eventually, built a whole career in my engineering field. But then I still had this dream. I wanted to go to space. I had to find a way to go to space. So after building a couple of successful companies, I decided, okay, I'm going to dedicate my time to just study space. I went back to school, and the reason I'm telling you all this is because it's never too late to, try to go and do something different and try to pursue your dream. And never giving up on it. So I went back to school, I started studying astronomy, which I love, and ended up sponsoring a prize called the Ansari X Prize, which sort of inspired a lot of people to start building spaceships in their garages. Now you would think I'm crazy, right? Who builds a spaceship in their garages? There were lots of people building spaceships in their garages. All over the world. There was one in Argentina that was building one that would go up in a balloon, using a balloon. There were people who were building spaceships that would launch from a boat, all sorts of different designs. And there was one in Mojave, particularly in Mojave, that won the prize in 2004. It was called Scale Composite, and this is actually what they built. It's called Spaceship One. And Richard Branson, who's a great entrepreneur, made it into Virgin Galactic, which will fly people to space. By the way, Spaceship One, the winning design, is in the Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. So if you're ever there, go look at it. It's an amazing design. So it was great. People had built a spaceship, still didn't have permission to fly regular passengers. I still wanted to go to space, so I found a different way. So I went and trained to go up on on the Russian space program. So I went to Russia. This is part of my training. I had to spend about a year in Russia training in different ways, doing simulation, survival training, and doing different medical examinations to make sure I'm healthy enough to do it and mentally sound enough to do it. Learned how to deal with centrifuge and all sorts of different training. And finally the day came and I was able to actually go to space. I flew on the Russian capsule, which you will see in the video. It took me 2 days to get to the space station, but when I got there, when I looked at that window, all the training, all the difficulties I had to go through to get there was definitely worth it. Because when you look out of that window and the view you see from our planet, it's such a unique view and experience. It makes you appreciate the amazing, beautiful world we live in. Our planet, who sometimes we take for granted. And it makes you appreciate and see your whole life with a different lens. And hopefully there will be more people flying. I told you about Virgin Galactic and Branson's commercialization of that Spaceship One. There are also Elon Musk, who you probably know, building rockets to take you up there. There's a Dragon capsule taking 7 people. There's Jeff Bezos of Amazon building capsules to take you up to space. And there are people building actually a space hotel. Bob Bigelow is building Project Genesis to actually have a place for you when you get up there and live up there. And living up there will be a lot more easier because now we can actually print stuff in space. There's 2 3D printers on board space station. They're starting to print little tools, and if something breaks, they can just print it out there. But soon enough, we'll be able to print food and everything. If you see Star Trek, the replicator, that's our 3D printers. Soon enough, we're going to be able to live in space. Robots have been used in space a lot, and we will use robotic pieces with us to make us more able to do things in space and live in space. And eventually, this is a picture of actually design of the 3D printed habitat on Mars, where we will eventually be able to live on the moon or Mars. Anyone here would want to go to live on another planet? Good. Maybe after you see the video, there will be even more. But why am I telling you about all these things? Because sometimes we get involved in our daily lives and we think this is it. We don't see what else is happening in the world that will change everything around us. And the future will be very different. And all of you guys have amazing imagination today. And if you hold on to that power of imagination you have, with the technology being available and accessible to you, you can build an amazing future for all of us. And I'm counting on all of you. Build better ways to go to space, to build better medicine that cures all diseases, ways for everyone to have access to clean water and food all over the world, and all sorts of different things that I can't even imagine because I don't have the power of your imagination. So with that, I'm going to show you a video that will take you on that journey on space station with me. Let's connect the sound for a second.
Ever since I remember as a child in Iran, sleeping under the stars and watching the stars twinkle, it was something that I wanted to experience for myself. The mystery of the unknown out there always have been drawing me to space. The universe is calling me.
Spaceport with Anousheh Ansari, the title sponsor of the Ansari X Prize. Congratulations on today's flight.
I'm not afraid of risk. This is a risk worth taking. And having the view we saw today on the monitors of Spaceship One is just an experience that's out of this world, and I would do anything, give my life to experience it.
This is the day before my flight. I was expecting the rocket to make sure everything's fine. And so this is part of the training, and this is where they build a seat liner. They cast it to your body, so the seat is perfectly fitted for you, and it's so you're protected when you land. And you will see the landing later. This is a centrifuge training area. So when you launch and land, you feel multiple forces of gravity. So this is one gravity. So like it's 4 times the force of gravity. This is how you train for it. So when you're training, it's hard to breathe when the gravity increases. So they teach you techniques to use your muscle in your stomach and your abdomen to breathe. This is also part of the training. This is the capsule. So this is the training. This is the physical simulation for the capsule. This is part of the survival training. So if you land somewhere in the forest and they can't get to you, you know how to survive on your own for 3 days. This is the space station training area, and this is COG flights. These are parabolic flights that everyone here can do actually, and it teaches you how it works to be weightless in space. I had to actually learn Russian. These are my crewmates. Mikhail Turin was a Russian cosmonaut who was the commander of the Soyuz, and Michael Lopez Alegria was a NASA astronaut, Spanish-American astronaut, who was one of the flight engineers. This is the morning of the flight. So we went to a ceremony, got prepared. This is the last part. We asked for permission to board the rocket. We're given permission. The bus took us to the rocket, and then you ride a small elevator that takes you up to the top of the rocket where the capsule sits. You see that white thing on top? That's where the capsule is. And then my family came to watch the launch.
And next time we see her, she'll be 220 miles in the sky.
This is when the countdown started. It's in Russian. It's my husband. The whole family was very worried about it. So as I said, it took me 2 days to get to the space station. So this is what's left of that entire rocket. This is just a capsule piece of it. Everything else is not reusable. That's why it's expensive today, and things will change with the new designs. When we arrived on the space station, there were 3 other crewmates up there, 1 Russian, 1 German, and 1 American. One cool thing about being on space station, you have people from all over the world working
For the first
together.
time I will see the
and
Earth
living together.
as a really beautiful glowing blue globe in the background of the universe.
So when you're in space, another cool factor is that there's no ceiling or floor or walls anymore because you can use the entire wall. Imagine if you were floating in this room, there's no reason why this couldn't be your floor and this your ceiling. So in space station you can see equipment, everything all around you, and you can use it however you want. And you can imagine this is you right now. I have the camera in my hand flying, so you can imagine this is you flying through the space station. When I was there, the space station was still being built. Right now it's completed. These white bags are used for storage, so for clothing, books, papers, medicine. You have to learn how to move in space because you don't need to apply a lot of force. Initially, I would push too hard and I would fly and hit one of those walls or those doors and hatches. But then I learned how to fly very gracefully around. This area is the command center service module, and here they're repairing a very heavy device that takes oxygen on board space station, but you can see it's just flowing. So you don't need any strong to go to space.
Sleeping quarters now. This is my sleeping bag right here, right by the best view from the world. Let's see. Sort of like a sack. Just hop in there. Or if you can call it hop and float in there. And I can go in. Basically. Like this. Or sometimes.
You have a window,
Yes.
right? Can you sleep when it is
Light?
light?
Yeah, you see, I do this. So for a few minutes I listen to music and then I start getting curious about what's out there. And I come out here and sort of put myself here and watch this beautiful view outside and enjoy myself. And then sometimes it's during the daytime, like now, and I can see the clouds, the earth rotating by. I see the curvature right there.
The views from space station is amazing. From up here, everything's really peaceful, and you can see the borders, you can see different races, different religions. All you see is just one earth, very peaceful and beautiful, rotating. And I think that's part of the reason I wish more and more people will be able to experience this firsthand, because talking to the astronauts and cosmonauts, they have a different perspective on life and how important it is for us to do everything in our power to preserve the only home we have in the universe.
So when you're in space, you rotate, make an orbit every 90 minutes. So you see a sunrise and a sunset every 90 minutes. Here's the kitchen, dining room area on board the space station. I'm making overview right there. There is no refrigeration, so there's no, the foods are packaged in the canned foods, they're specially packaged. And it's the only place it's okay to play with this. You're supposed to play with it. Water flows, doesn't flow, so there are no showers on board space station either. You have the towel, that's a wet towel and a dry towel every 2 days to clean yourself. I'm a chocolate, so I make Haggard and M&Ms on board the space station. You don't have to work hard in space, your muscles and bones get weak, so you have to exercise how you take a shower, wash your hair when it's nice. Everyone has to be in different areas to divide the chores. So this is the last day when I was getting ready to come back. I was very sad. I had so much fun. I didn't want to come back. I spent about 9 days up there on the station down here before the trip. So I went up with 2 astronauts who started their 6-month mission, and then I returned with 2 who had just completed their 6-month mission.
The gap has been taken off.
Thank you. We have wiped everything.
Once you're in the capsule, you go through the preparation these couple of hours, but then after that, you basically detach and then take a couple of orbits and then head down quickly. So it just takes maybe 3 hours to be back on Earth after you enter your capsule. And then you go through different stages of parachute. This is the last stage of the parachute before you land. And the explosion, you saw the retro rockets that fire to slow you down before hitting the ground. The capsule itself is burnt in the atmosphere because when you come down, it's like you're coming down on a shooting star through the atmosphere. It gets really hot and it's not reusable. You're disoriented, so they actually help you out and take care of you when you land. I had a surprise visitor. My husband managed to launch and land from Kazakhstan, which is where the first human who went to space also launched from. They have set up
the satisfaction you get by seeing something that you longed for so long and you worked so hard. It's becoming a reality.
There's a ceremony, you wear the traditional Kazakh clothes before you go back to Moscow. Everyone wears it. You ask my husband also. There's a lot of tradition in
I
this
don't have
space
any
program.
plans to call this the final destination for myself and to basically retire from working in the space industry. I look at it as just one of the steps that I'm taking in a long journey, and my ultimate goal will be to bring this experience and the ability to fly to space to more and more people.
We have a lot of time for questions. So before I will ask the first question though. How many more people want to go to space? We have 4 papers. So I'm open for you guys to ask your questions. You can ask anything you want. Yes. Training. What was the favorite part of my training? The zero-G flights. I love those because those 30 seconds. So the flights you saw where I was weightless, the regular airplanes that the inside is changed, and then you get to sort of fly like you're on a roller coaster. And what happens is when you get to the tip of that flight pattern, they call it the parabolic flights. For about 20-30 seconds, you feel weightless. You know, it's like you're in an elevator and when you're going up and if the elevator drops, you sort of, for a little bit, you feel like you're off the ground. So that's how you do it. That's how you train for 0 to class. Yes? Did I what? Was I scared at all during this whole thing? So I thought I would be really, really scared, to be honest with you, and I had practiced yoga, meditation, because they monitor your heart rate when you're inside that capsule. They monitor everything, and I was afraid that if my heart rate is, then it would stop the launch, and I didn't want that to happen. So, but when the day came and I was inside the capsule, I was just so happy that I had made it there. But I think it didn't leave any room to be scared. So I actually had the lowest heartbeat than anyone else in the capsule. I was not afraid, and it was just because I was so happy that I was able to do that. Because, since humans have gone to space, only 550 people have gone. Only 52 women have gone. So it was a big, huge privilege for me to be able to do that. Yes?
How long did it take you to readjust when you came back to Earth?
I'm sorry, how long did it take?
To readjust to Earth gravity.
It depends on how long you spend in space. For me, because I spent about only 11 days, it took maybe a day and a half for me to adjust. Astronauts who complete their 6-month mission, they usually spend about a week to 10 days in rehab to gain their strength back to what they do normal. The first thing that you feel when you land is you feel very heavy. So I felt like I was wearing a lead suit over my body, and I feel like I'm sinking into the ground. I felt so heavy. But then, after like half a day, that starts to wear off slowly. You're a little disoriented. Your vestibular system is also, like I was thinking I was walking straight, but I was walking at an angle. Your body in general is weak. You spend about 2 weeks in quarantine because your immune system is also weak. You don't want to catch things. But usually between 2 to 10 days. Yes? So that's a good question. So she's asking what happens if you don't have a helmet or that suit when you're in space. So inside the capsule and inside the space station itself, they make it feel like a normal place, like an airplane. They pressurize the cabin, they make the area feel comfortable, so you don't have to wear your suit when you're inside the space station or after you're in orbit with the capsule. But if things change, or if you want to go outside the space station and do a spacewalk, which I didn't get a chance to do, you have to wear your suit because there is a vacuum outside. And your body needs to have the pressure like you're on Earth around you to make sure that your body stays intact and that there's oxygen and the gases that you need to breathe. So that's what happens, and that's why you need space.
How long was the travel from Earth to the station?
So it takes you about maybe 20 minutes to get to orbit. But once you're in orbit, what happens is that the space station is orbiting the Earth, and then you have the capsule. So you start chasing the space station to make sure you get in alignment in the same orbit and match your speed so you can dock gently with it. You don't want to knock it out of its orbit. So when I went, it took 2 days for me to get to the space station that way. But now they can do it in like 18 hours. Yes. I wish I knew. I spent 11 days, and then you can calculate that I did every 90 minutes you do an orbit, so many orbits, but I don't remember the number. Let's see. Yes.
What was worse physically for you? The launch into space or the re-entry? What was more demanding?
Yeah, the re-entry definitely. So the launch actually it was much easier and smoother than I anticipated. And you only do 2.5 Gs to 3 Gs going up. Returning, also the entry through the atmosphere is a lot more impactful on your body. So as I said, it feels like you're riding a shooting star. You see the plasma burning right outside of the capsule. So I could see the flames right outside the window because I was next to one of the portholes. And it gets really hot inside the capsule. You're inside the suit, so you're sweating a lot. When the parachute opens, you're going very fast, especially the first parachute opens. So you start, sort of hanging, going all over the place. So you get very disoriented.
How long was the training?
So the last part of that maybe takes, I don't know, I would say maybe 10 minutes or less. The overall it takes about a couple of hours with making sure that they do all the checks. But coming down is pretty fast. Once they know everything is working and functioning, you basically start descent and you just shoot down straight. Yes.
Hi, my name is Ryan. So, and I really enjoyed the speech. So, I just wanted to ask, what can we do, what should we do to get ourselves prepared and have, what should we prepare?
So if you want to be an astronaut, and you think about joining NASA perhaps, the things they look at is how diverse your knowledge is. So definitely study hard, definitely some total science. But then, they love to have people who know different things. So maybe computer science and biology or physics, or maybe even add music or arts, geology. The more different things you know, the better it is, because there's a limited number of people they can send to space. So the more you know, the more experiments and different things you can analyze when you're out there. So those things will definitely play a role. Any type of initiative you show in leadership, in designing teams, organizing groups, those things, working in group is very important. So those are some of the things they look at when they're selecting the astronauts. Yes. I asked you a question already. So let me see you.
So, what happens if you landed in the ocean? How would you get back?
Very good question. I don't know if you remember. Yeah, so I don't know if you remember, I showed a picture of actually the capsule in the water where we're doing training. Maybe I'll find it for you. But what happens is that you have special clothing inside the capsule that allows you to change. I don't know if you will show that or not. But basically, so the capsule will land, and then you have to change your to this special suit that is waterproof, and then there's a lifeboat that you can inflate, and then you get out of the capsule and you have to get it's not really a boat, it's something you just hang in around you or this to float in the water. Then you have some rations, so it allows you to live. And then there is also the same things like a survival kit for that you can use to build, fire, or if it's cold, there's like a thermal blanket that keeps you warm until someone comes and rescues you. There's a beacon, there's a phone, satellite phone to call and tell people where you are so they can come and rescue you. Let's see, cover.
You plan to go again, given the proliferation of Virgin Galactic and SpaceX. Do you plan to go again?
I definitely hope so. I try to stay in shape, exercise, so if the opportunity comes, I would go. With Virgin, with SpaceX, George, all three, I'm very close and work with them closely. So I'm hoping that I will do this again. Yes.
How were you chosen to go into space? And also, what experiments did you work on when you were there?
How was I chosen and the experiments? So it's a longer story how I was chosen because this is not necessarily being chosen by the Russian space program. I worked with with a group called Space Adventures, which organized trips for civilians to space. Dennis Tito is the first one who did such trip with the Russians. I went there to actually, they offered me to go and train as a backup. And I asked them if I would be able to sit next to astronauts. I was just, I loved being part of the space program. So when they offered me the opportunity to go train with them, all I asked is that I would be in the same classrooms with them, and then I packed my bags and I went there for a whole year. I trained as a backup. I wasn't supposed to go to space. But when I arrived there, I decided that I'm here and I'm gonna act as if I'm going to space. So when I went through the program, I really, I was working on everything very seriously and as if I was training for my space mission. And what happened is the day that the training ended, I was on the way to the airport. My husband was coming to help me pack and go home. They called me on the actual drive to the airport, and they said that, Anousheh, do you want to go to space? And I thought that it's a practical joke. So I said, this is not funny, how depressed I am, this is not funny. And I'm like, no, we're serious. Because the person, so I just went through a quick training on that. Yes?
You said when you traveled up in space, you were inside a spaceship. You said you're also inside a capsule. What was their approximate volume of the capsule?
I will send you the information, but I don't know it off the top of my head. But what happens, there are two pieces, there are actually three pieces to the capsule. One piece is just equipment, so it's not habitable. There are two habitable pieces, so they're connected together. And one is where we sit during the launch. You saw us sitting inside. It's pretty cramped, it's very small. Three of us can sit next to each other, and there's not a lot more volume other than what you saw. The second piece is also about the same size, but the seats and the equipment are not in there, so you have a little bit more volume. It's enough room for you to stand, maybe the three of you to stand next to each other. So if you've seen the Apollo capsule and Space Museum, it's actually a little bit smaller than the Apollo capsule. And when on your way up, by the time you get to the space station, only the capsule remains, the rocket pieces are all gone. And then when you come back, the two other parts of the capsule gets ejected before you start the re-entry, and they burn in the atmosphere. And only the last one, the one that has the seats, was max. So the thing that you saw burned up on the ground, that's just that one piece that has the seats. Yes.
I know you trained for the worst. You mentioned that when ascending is 2.5 G. So when you do the training, it would be 3G, 4G, 5G?
So the training you saw actually that I did was for 9G. So they train you for a sort of irregular landing that the worst case you can go up to 30 Gs. They do an injection right off the bat if like a rocket doesn't take off and they just need to rescue you. That has never happened, but you can go up to 30 G. There have been cases where they've gone up to 12 Gs on a really bad re-entry, but in my case I was very lucky. I think we did 4.5 Gs on re-entry. Yes? How about you? Your question? How do you change the poses? I wish I had actually a picture of that. So you train for that too, because what you can do is you can float in and out of your suit, for example. So if you have a suit, especially the space suit, it's difficult to get in and out of, so you train on how to go in and out in those 0G flights. And you just leave it there, and then you sort of float inside. The rest of it, it's like just, you can leave your shirt right there, and it will stay right there, and then you can sort of slide it. How much? The hardest part of my training, you saw in that spinning chair, that was to me the hardest part, because I really didn't like it. You have to sit in that chair and spin for 10 minutes, and so you learn how you strengthen your vestibular system, which allows you to, balance yourself. I don't know if you've been on a boat or ship when it moves a lot, you sort of get dizzy. This is so when in space it feels like you're on water, so your system that helps you balance gets out of whack. So this is the way they try to train you to counteract that. How much?
How did you make the spaceship?
How did I make it? I wish I knew how to make a spaceship. I didn't, but there were lots of engineers and scientists who built that and put it together. And then when they assembled it all, they put it on a train and on a railway, and they took it to the launch pad. And then with help of some mechanical arms, they tilted it up for it to stand up. And then they have these things that holds it straight. And then when you're ready to launch, these arms open up and allows for the rocket to launch all the way up. How much? Why didn't I float when I was sleeping? I was floating, I was just inside the bag. So if you saw that sleeping bag, the sleeping bag itself was floating. So it's like an air mattress. And then inside the bag, I was floating. But you don't want your sleeping bag to start wandering off by itself. So a corner of it I had tied into something there so that it wouldn't just float away and go someplace else. How much do you have it? How do I protect myself? Inside the capsule or outside? Outside you have to wear a special spacesuit. So you've seen the astronauts who do spacewalk. You've seen the movie Gravity. They have all sorts of equipment on the spacesuit. So they have cameras, they have cooling systems, they have things that measure your vital system, and it's pressurized so you can breathe inside of it. So it's built to protect you when you're in space. How much? I would definitely go back. I would go live in space if I could. It's on Earth. Yes. So I didn't get motion sickness in that, but I did get motion sickness when I was actually in the capsule going up there. And the reason is, they teach you when you're in space at the beginning, your body's going through a lot of change and it's adjusting. So they say you have to take it easy. You should not move a lot. But if you want to turn, you don't turn your head like this. You turn your whole body very slowly. You should not look out the window. And of course, what do? As soon as I'm in space and I feel weightless, I open my belt and I start moving up, moving down, doing somersaults, looking out the window, and then I got very excited. Yes. Yes, so you see the rocket has several pieces. So there are, 3 stages, and then you have the capsule. Oh, here it is. Wonderful, thank you. So you have, different parts of this that has fuel in it. So the first part has a lot of fuel that takes you to the first stage, and then this separates and goes away, and then another, the second piece fires up, and between these 2 times, you feel like you're sort of, standing still. And then it starts again, fires up, and then you feel like you kick, and then you go up, and that also drops off, and the last piece then starts. When you go up, there's this thing called nose fairing. So as soon as you launch, when you're still going up, this part also, there's a little of explosive here that opens it up, and this goes away, so then the capsule is exposed. And then when these things burn off and they're out, then only the capsule that's inside this piece is what goes up to the space station. And none of these parts are reusable. So some parts of it burn. These parts actually don't burn fully in the atmosphere. They land on the ground, in the deserted areas. People go actually, I've learned it, since I didn't know, I came back. People go and hunt this because there's aluminum and a lot of precious metals here. So they go retrieve these and then recycle these and bring to. Let's see. Did you ask a question before? No. How about you? How did I become an astronaut? It's a long story. I actually had to study hard, become an engineer, become an entrepreneur. I went and worked with the Russian Space Agency, and I got a chance to go to space.
You can read the whole story in her book. That actually the Plano Public Library has a couple of copies, but one's right here.
Yeah, my whole life from my childhood to going to space and coming back is in that book. How about you? If we didn't wear the suit to go to space, then, if you go outside the space station where there's vacuum, actually your body will get crushed and you wouldn't be able to breathe, and then your body will get crushed. So it's not a good thing to do. You have to wear your spacesuit when you go outside the space station. How did I do what with the guy? Around the guy, I float over it. So in space, you don't walk, you fly. So what you need to do is, in order to maneuver and change direction, you have to use some kind of like a panel, something to push yourself off of it to change direction. Because one thing that happens when you're in space, people think is like being in water and swimming. So the first natural instinct that you start like doing this, and you think you can move by moving your arms and legs. And you can't, because there's nothing, you're not pushing against anything. So what happens, you just, sort of stay in the same place, unless there's like an air pushing you. So what you have to do is that's why the space is close, so you can easily push off of the wall or the equipment that's around you, and just a little bit of the push, you go in the opposite direction. What kind of food did I eat in space? So there's all sorts of different kinds of food. The only thing is that because you don't have a refrigerator, it's packaged differently. So you have canned food, meat, vegetable. You have food that's frozen, freeze-dried, so the water is taken out so it doesn't spoil. It's like food you would take on camping trips or military ration. And then you add water when you're in space. So powdered soup or powdered drinks, and then you add water. They're in special containers, so like drinks are in a container where you add water and then you drink with a straw. Otherwise, the water will be all over the place. Yes.
How many languages do you speak? You mentioned you learned Russian.
Yeah, I learned space Russian, and it's a language that you don't practice, you forget. But I speak Farsi. When I came to US, I learned English, and I speak French. Yes.
With all these satellites that are going up into space from all over the world, is there any regulatory body that controls this? And I imagine at some point it's going to be crowded and you're going to have to time the ascent and the descent without smacking into one of these things. Did you see any of these other satellites on your way up and down?
So, no, I did not see satellites. It also depends. A lot of the satellites are, geostationary mostly. So the space station is at 220 miles. Geostation is around 450. So it's a lot higher orbit. There's agreement. I don't believe there's a regulatory body, but there's agreement between countries because these satellites are very expensive, as you can imagine. So they don't want satellites crashing into each other. So there's an agreement that they work to make sure that the satellites don't crash into each other. What happens regularly is a lot of these satellites also just end up decaying and either get caught in an orbit that just stays. There's a lot of space debris, and actually there's a problem with space debris. And there are people thinking about, at X Prize, we've expanded a lot of our work, and we're thinking about even doing a prize for how to get rid of space debris. Some smaller ones just decay and then burn in the atmosphere, but some just stay there's a whole bunch of old satellites out there.
How would you say the experience changed you?
Good question. So it's a truly life-changing experience that makes you look at the world and your relationship with the world and everything around you differently. As you saw, we learned about the world and geography through these maps with different colors and these dark lines that separates us into these countries and different parts of the world. And when you see it from out there, none of it is out there. There's no walls or borders separating us. So to see our world for what it truly is, which is one planet for all of us. And we're all Earthlings. There is nothing different and there's nothing separating us. And that's how you start living your life and looking at life. And I think it's an important one. I keep telling everyone we should have our next UN General Assembly up there, send more leaders up there, so you can see the reality of what we have, and then they can have policies that match that. But it is a life-changing experience and humbling and empowering at the same time. Yes?
When you spend your life chasing a seemingly unattainable goal, and then you attain that goal, once it's over, how do you readjust? Do you go through a period of depression, or do you come back just so motivated to set bigger goals and attain bigger goals than before?
Very good question. So my experience was that I came back, I was completely depressed. I came back and I was thinking that for a couple of reasons. One, the whole thing that, okay, I've been doing this and this big thing in front of me, and now I had to find something else to keep me going. But more importantly, I felt like, everyone around me was sleepwalking and I wanted to shake them and wake them up. And it was frustrating because it's not an easy thing to do. So for a period of time, I thought about, everything that happened in my life, which is, when if you look at my life, it's pretty incredible how I actually ended up going out there. So a lot of things had to happen in the right way, and things had to connect to allow me to do that. So I feel like, now that I've had this experience, I have to be able to translate this into something meaningful for others to experience it. And I was the first person who did a blog from space. NASA didn't want me to do it, a big fight, and finally they agreed, and I did the blog, and all of a sudden it became so popular. I think 25 million people read the blog within the first 2 months, and it got translated to different languages. And the most response from the blog was that we were so inspired, and a lot of people were writing that we had this dream, now we want to go after our dream. So I felt like, okay, if my life story can make a difference and help people to achieve what they want to do and get people to do bigger, have bigger dreams, maybe that's something I can do. So I've been working on that. And the other thing was that whole experience I told you about, how we're all really part of one community on this spaceship Earth traveling. It's something that I felt that young people actually relate to this concept more. They feel more connected to this digital language that has been developed. So I started working with a lot of young people to have a stronger voice in policy making and building a platform to allow them to do that. So I'm collaborating with a lot of non-profit organizations and groups to make that happen. So I found other things that now still motivates me, and I haven't given up on the idea of going back. So it's one of those experiences that you really want to experience again and again and again.
Thank you.
Okay, one last question here. You had your hand up for quite some time.
Sorry.
No, I have one.
I'm sorry. How old I was? So I was about 16 years old when I came here, and it was a hard adjustment. It was the first time I left my country. I didn't speak English, so it was hard. The second day I was dropped off at the school and I had to figure it out. But it also, I think it was good because it made me overcome shyness. I was very shy. It made me overcome shyness and a lot of fears I had. And you learn how to survive. So it was difficult, but peaceful experience.
I would like to ask a final question. What advice would you give to our young people here today about achieving their goals and what their role is in the future? Because we've heard her talk a lot about how there's change still coming, right? We don't know everything. So what is their role?
So as I said at the beginning, I think the most important thing for you guys is, you know, to use your imagination. The only thing we've been able to build all these things that you guys use and imagine and to have this work, someone imagined it, it didn't exist before, and then they believe that they can make it happen and build it, and they didn't listen to all the people who told them you can't do it. So don't be afraid to be different, to think different, to imagine the unimaginable, and then to go after it and build it. And with that, I have a favorite poem that I'm going to tell you about. It's a poem by Ken Raven. The poem goes, and hopefully I remember it. Only as high as I reach can I grow. Only as far as I seek can I go. Only as deep as I look can I see. And only as much as I dream can I be. So dream big, and I wish all your dreams will come true. Thank you.
And we have one request. We'd like to take a picture of Ms. Ansari with her fans here. And I want to welcome you on behalf of the library to explore the resources that we have for your kids to learn about science and technology and engineering. We have robotics, we have STEAM kits, wonderful things about mapping and tangrams and things that will help develop spatial skills in your kiddos so they can go into these technology and engineering. We have a 3D printer at the Davis Library. So come play with us, come explore. Keep that sense of wonder. And we're starting a new program in the spring called Wonder Cafe, where we'll be having people in science and technology fields come in to have discussions with you. Bring the kiddos in and to learn about all of these sorts of advancing, emerging technologies. We also have a visitor from the National Space Society who's here, Mr. Ruffin, and his table is out here. He has some things that he will give away to you that you can learn about space and the future of the space program. So we're going to ask if we're going to have Mrs. Ansari come and stand here if y'all don't mind being in one photo together, and then we'll allow her to get on with the day. Thank you for being here. You guys can step back for a minute.